Right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Tonight, 2 children shot to death in a matter of hours.
That's something that no parent wants to go through or should have to go through. I mean, that's just devastating to say the least.
Why one of the grandparents is behind bars. Plus, Boeing expansion. The pitch from the aerospace company to St. Louis County about expanding operations near Lambert Airport.
A weather first, weather alert for thunderstorms Wednesday. A few stronger storms and downpours are expected.
It's all quiet tonight in St. Louis, but you'll want to be on alert tomorrow. Good evening. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Ann Allred. Some areas could see 2 rounds of strong storms, and that's why we are in a weather alert tonight. And Weather First Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell is tracking the timing. Scott.
And that is a big concern for us. The timing on this tomorrow will play out and have a big impact on what we end up seeing as the course of the day wears on. Right now, things are relatively quiet across the area. We've had a couple of spot showers off to the north and northeast of St. Louis. In fact, we look to the northeast and there you see a few showers, a couple of rumbles of thunder. No big deal, right? So that's passing us by, but this is coming our way. Pretty impressive disturbance coming out of Colorado tonight, and it's already starting to swing in across Nebraska into far western Kansas. And we've had some pretty intense thunderstorms with that, and that energy is heading our way. So midday storms tomorrow is what we're thinking. Late morning in through the midday hours, early afternoon. That's wave 1. And then another round of potential evening thunderstorms. That may be more focused to the south of St. Louis. Gusty winds will be in a few storms, but not all of them. Right now, we're not looking at this being a widespread severe weather event, although in southern Missouri, the risk is higher. And there will be some dry time tomorrow, especially first thing in the morning. And then again, after that first wave tapers off and shifts east for a time during the afternoon. That'll be our recovery period. And once we see that recovery, then we'll know where we're going into the evening hours. But just remain alert tomorrow. Make sure you have a way to get those warnings. And of course, and that means the 5 on your side weather app.
And remember, great point, you can get the latest Weather First forecast anytime. Just text the word weather to 314-425-5355. We'll send it straight to your phone. Tonight, we're learning new details about one of St. Louis's biggest employers' plans to expand.
Boeing is hoping to get approval from St. Louis Lambert International Airport to make its $2 billion investment a reality. 5 on your side's Brent Solomon is live at the airport now with what he's learning.
Well, Mike, today Boeing pitched its plan to county leaders. If the company gets its way, it will be able to expand onto the airport's property. But it takes approval for that.
This is key to significantly growing our advanced manufacturing capability at the site.
Randall Gelzer with Boeing says his company has big plans. The goal is to expand onto 154 acres of land located here on the site of St. Louis Lambert International. If the county gives the green light, Boeing's $1.8 billion investment would create hundreds of new jobs, paying on average $90,000.
This will allow us to compete for those next franchise programs in St. Louis.
At a county committee meeting Tuesday, support from community partners.
It is not often that you see competitive projects of this size considering St. Louis.
The creation of 500 new high-paying full-time jobs, which will build on the existing 16,000 employees.
Boeing sits in our backyard. They share our runway with us every day.
The head of St. Louis Lambert International telling county leaders Boeing's ask aligns with the airport's goals to increase foot traffic and beautify the campus.
Taking the underdeveloped, underutilized land that we own and turning it into something to enhance the area around the airport. Take the eyesore out of there, take down the old decrepit buildings, and we'll see bright new facilities on our campus at our airport.
One person spoke against the measure, a taxpayer who's concerned about big businesses like Boeing getting subsidies. He wants this matter to go to the voters instead of to county leaders. By the way, no decision tonight, but tomorrow, the Airport Commission will take up this matter. We'll keep you posted. Live at St. Louis Lambert International, Brent Solomon. Back to you.
New tonight, smoking will soon be banned in St. Louis County parks, and that includes both tobacco and marijuana. The county council passed an update to the county's clean air code tonight. It was prompted by Missouri's legalization of recreational marijuana. Smoking and vaping will also not be allowed outside county-run buildings. The votes are in tonight from today's special election in St. Louis City. Residents in the St. Louis Hills neighborhood passed Prop S with 55% of the vote. The tax hike will provide more neighborhood cameras and patrols. It will cost residents about $15 a month.
2 children in the St. Louis region shot and killed in a matter of hours. A 7-year-old boy in Berkeley and a 5-year-old girl in Belleville. Our Laura Barczewski talked with gun safety advocates who say they are tired of hearing about these tragedies.
Yes, and they are. Advocates tell me this is all happening too often, and they want to continue to push parents and families to lock up their guns so that this doesn't happen to anyone else.
They had so much life left to live.
I have a 5-year-old daughter, and just thinking about or imagining my daughter, dying at the age of 5, being shot at the age of 5 and dying from, a gunshot wound or gun violence. I mean, that's devastating. So I think about the families, what they're going through.
The Belleville and Berkeley communities are grieving after 2 children were shot and killed just hours apart.
At least 15% or so that are accidental, and honestly, 1 is too many. And so it's tragic, it's terrible, and it's something that needs to be addressed.
Police say 7-year-old Darnell Macon shot himself when he was left alone inside his grandfather's truck in Berkeley. He found the loaded gun in between the seats. His grandfather has now been charged. Gail Wexler with Moms
really
Demand Action says it's so tragic.
We at Moms Demand call these unintentional shootings. They're really not accident because there are things that parents and guardians can do to securely store their firearms, whether it's in your home or in your car.
35 minutes away in Belleville, police say 5-year-old Dariah Lathan was shot and killed at her home near West Main and 88th Street. A car was seen rushing her to the hospital where she died. Community advocates in Illinois met with area law enforcement to try and help put a stop to these kinds of tragedies.
We need all levels of government to help us with the safe boxes for guns, the education of guns, stronger gun laws in surrounding states, because that affects us.
Wexler says they really want parents and guardians to take advantage of free resources available now so they don't have to grieve the loss of their child because of a gun.
You really need to keep your guns unloaded and either locked with a gun lock or put in a lockbox separate from ammunition.
You can text the word LOCKS to 314-425-5355 and we'll send you a list of places where you can get a gun lock for free.
Tonight, we know the name of the woman who was killed by a piece of debris that flew through her windshield. 21-year-old Jalen Rhodes was driving on Lindbergh in Florissant last week when another driver hit a road sign. Part of it went through Rhodes' windshield and killed her. The other driver wasn't hurt and stayed on the scene.
Tonight, a man is facing charges accused of pointing a gun at a woman who didn't thank him for holding a door open for her. 36-year-old Vaughn Spivey is charged with unlawful use of a weapon. The incident happened back on July 24th at a mobile station on North Hanley in Berkeley. No one was physically harmed. President Biden and former President Trump were both on the road today on opposite sides of the country.
Each are combating issues that could threaten their 2024 campaigns.
Preserving these lands is good not only for Arizona, but for the planet. It's good for the economy. It's good for the soul of the nation.
President Biden talked about his climate initiatives at the Grand Canyon. This as he battles low approval ratings and a struggling economy, controversies involving his son Hunter, and questions about his age.
Former President Trump was in New Hampshire. He's facing 3 indictments with a 4th possible this week. Former President Trump denies all charges, calling it a political witch hunt.
This is all about election interference. I'm sorry, I won't be able to go to Iowa today. I won't be able to go to New Hampshire today because I'm sitting in a courtroom on because his attorney general charged me.
Now, with all of his legal troubles, our Verify team has been asked if Donald Trump, if he's reelected, could pardon himself.
Here's Brandon Lewis with the answer.
On August 3rd, former President Donald Trump pleaded not guilty in his 3rd criminal indictment, his 2nd in federal court. The first was in New York State court. Several Verify viewers reached out to ask if Trump could possibly pardon himself if he's reelected as president. So, let's verify. Could Trump pardon himself for any federal or state convictions if he's reelected as president? Our sources are the U.S. Constitution, a ruling by the Supreme Court, the Department of Justice, the Brennan Center for Justice, and 3 constitutional law experts. For the federal charges, the answer is maybe, because there is no clearly stated law or legal precedent, meaning this hasn't happened before. The Constitution gives the president broad power to issue pardons for federal crimes. The only explicit restriction that the Founding Fathers included was that a president cannot pardon themselves in cases of impeachment.
I don't think that they have ever considered or imagined a situation where the president would need to pardon himself. But here we are.
The closest we've come was in 1974, just days before President Richard Nixon resigned. The DOJ issued a memo that said, under the fundamental rule that no one may be a judge in his own case, the president cannot pardon himself. However, that opinion was never tested in court because Nixon resigned.
The question is it enforceable? And the courts would have to decide that. And ultimately, that case is going to wind its way to the United States Supreme Court. Former President Trump would probably be in pretty good standing with the United States Supreme Court.
As for Trump's indictment in New York on state criminal charges, all of our sources agree that no, Trump cannot pardon himself in that case because the Constitution only gives him the power to issue pardons for federal crimes. New York's Constitution says that only the governor can grant pardons or clemency to people, and only after they're convicted. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
What can we verify for you? Send an email. The email address is verify@kstk.com.